Hi again. I had a guy come to see me last week, suffering from depression. Only a young chap. I think he was in his thirties. Hadn't been out of the house for a long time. Really bad. Had depression really badly. And one of his family members brought him to me, and I could see the desperation in this family member. Almost like so desperate for me to help him, and asking me how long it would take, how quick it would be, that type of thing. And I sat down with this guy. The fact that he was there, I thought was brilliant. He'd got out of the house. He'd realised that he needed help. He'd never really asked for help. So the fact that he was there and he was getting help was fantastic. For me, that was a major step. And as I sat with this guy, I realised that this is probably going to take a while, because he's had this thought process, he's had these feelings for quite a few years. But then afterwards, it sort of made me think about, we live in a time now where people want things, they want answers, they want fast results. And I get that. And I understand that, but it's not always that easy. If you've had a certain way of thinking, if you've had a certain way of feeling for a long time, that can take time to undo and challenge and change. So I'm guessing with this guy, it's going to take a while. I don't know how long. Sometimes you have quick breakthroughs, but I'm guessing it's going to take a while. So I'll just work with him and see where it goes. I'm impressed that he got there, and that's what I was trying to say to this family member. The fact that he's here, the fact that he's made this step is fantastic. Don't push him just yet. There'll be a time to challenge him and a time to push him, but not just yet. And this triggered lots of different thoughts for me. I remember going on an NLP course years ago. It cost me a hell of a lot of money. And I remember going, and the guy who was running the course asked me what I did. And I said, well, I work as a therapist in lots of different areas. And he said, oh, we don't believe in any of that. He said, we don't believe in wallowing in emotions. You can just change your thought pattern, and everything will be okay. You don't need to know the story. And I didn't want to argue with this guy, because I was paying him a lot of money. I thought, I don't really care what you believe. I just want to learn what you've got. And he was a nice guy, to be fair to him. But what he was saying made a lot of sense to me as well. In theory, that makes perfect sense. Just change the way you're thinking. It changes the way you're feeling. It changes the way you behave. I get all that. That makes perfect sense. But sometimes it's not always that easy to do. In theory it is, but in reality it's really hard to do. If you've creating new habits, some people say 21 days, some people say 28 days, some people say a few months. I don't think you can put it in stone, but creating new habits, I think everyone would agree, takes a bit of time. A few months, a few weeks, a few months. It takes a bit of time. It doesn't normally happen overnight. So, what I'm saying here in this clip, sometimes we just need to slow down a little bit and take our time, instead of, wanting instant answers, because they don't always come. Like I say, even in therapy, I've heard this. My belief is sometimes you do have to dive into people's stories. You do have to find out why they're thinking the way they think, what's happened along, through their life to make them feel and think this way. Then you can start working on changing it. It's not about wallowing in the story and wallowing in self-pity. It's about finding out what it is and then working on changing it. So I get where this NLP guy was coming from, even though I'd slightly disagree with him. In theory he's right, but in reality, from what I've seen, it's very rarely that easy. And it's the same when you go to the gym. You see a lot of people in the gym, they might not have trained for years. Last time they were in the gym, they might have been able to run 10 miles or box 10 rounds, and they go back in the gym and they think they can start off again where they left off. It doesn't work like that. You've got to build up, you've got to take your time, and just do a bit at a time, but gradually build it up. If you're lifting weights, you start off with small weights and then build up to heavier weights. It's just the way it is. If you go for a run and you haven't ran for years, start off walking. Then, once you get used to your legs pumping again, then a gentle jog, and just build up and build up and build up. That's the way it works. Same in coaching. I had a couple of people recently that have they've asked people about books, and people have recommended these books to them, and the books they're recommending are brilliant, but they're really heavy reads. You know, it made me think. I've got a book here that I brought a while ago. It's called The Course in Miracles. I don't know if you can see that. It's a great book, but if I can read 2 or 3 pages at a time, I've done really well. It's a really heavy read. So even when it comes to things like reading, and you know, if you want to get into self-help, I would start off with the basic self-help books, things like The Alchemist. That's a great book. The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, you know, CBT for Dummies or something like that. Start off really basic and then start working up to the heavier books. But again, you know, if you jump straight in at a heavy book like The Course in Miracles, you'll probably just end up putting it down and just thinking all these books are rubbish and forget about it. You know, you've got to, again, build up slowly. All the information's out there, you know, but you've got to build up to it. You've got to build up. And I've talked before about, you know, for me, with going back to the NLP guy as well, I found that a really interesting conversation, you know, because those type of people, and I'm not knocking them, there's a lot of really good stuff in it. They say you can just change like that. I've never found it that easy. And if you go back to people like Carl Jung, Freud, you know, they first started, in the days when they first started working with people with mental health problems, for example, people with mental health problems in those days were just locked away. It was the likes of Carl Jung and Freud who found that by sitting and listening to people, they could start to understand where their problems came from. So, but again, that takes time. So, the message for today, take your time. Slow down, you know, don't expect the results to be that fast every single time. Build it up, you know, take your time. Things like we spoke before about take a bit of time out in the day to meditate, to read. You know, you might think that you're not getting anywhere, but you are. You know, I've always found in life the times where I feel like I'm not growing, I'm not getting anywhere, are the times that when I look back, when I was probably growing the most. But they're the times that most people will back off and give in. So the message for today, I guess, is slow down, take your time and build up. Don't expect instant results. And that's it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for listening. If anyone wants to put any feedback on, it's always appreciated. Like I said, this page is about people helping each other. So thanks for your time. Thank you.